Hi, everyone. This is Sachin Gupta, and today I'll be speaking about knowing what to know to be an effective PM. So, to begin with, a quick background about me. So, I work as a PM in eBay's payment organization, and my focus is to enhance buyers' checkout experience. And prior to eBay, my product journey has spanned over multiple industries, namely e-commerce, retail, financial services, venture capital, and automobile. So, as you know, moving on, as software continues to eat up the world, the product manager has become an increasingly important role. And nevertheless, it's a very tough job that requires a broad mastery across several domains and skills. Not only are you required to become a domain expert uh, of the product that you own, but you also need to understand the industry within which you work. So now what to expect in this presentation. Today, I'll give you a brief overview of what it takes to be a product manager. Next, uh, then finding how do you find the PM role that best fits your personality. And finally, I will go in depth about the top three tech sectors where PM work and what consideration or trends that you should be aware of. So the first is the research. So what and why and what to research. So first about the why. So given the product manager interviews are so competitive, it is very critical for you to take the initiative to conduct pre-interview research about the organization that you'll be interviewing for. Not only will you make a stronger impression on the interviewers, but also you will have the opportunity to determine if you truly want to spend the next few years of your life in this particular organization and in within this industry. So hopefully I've convinced you enough to research. So let's focus on what actually you need to research. The first is the role and the product. See if that really match your personality and skill level. The second is the tech industry that the organization is in. The third is the organization itself, their competencies, their values, their culture, and finally, the competitive landscape, which will help you understand the strength and weakness. So, in the next part of the presentation, I will primarily focus on helping you find the best product fit and the top tech industry trends. So, what is your product fit? So let's understand what are the different type of PMs and what interviewers look for specifically in each role. So primarily, if I break it down, so there are around 6 different PM types. There's a growth, workflow, community, platform, data, and mobile. So what is growth? You might see the opportunities like sometimes it's called e-commerce product manager, marketing, performance, or conversion product manager. And the job function generally has the responsibility for you to optimize the conversion flows for marketing landing pages, and you're responsible for driving engagements and repeat customers. So the superpower that really goes well for this role is someone who loves the chase of finding conversion and retention improvements. You might be a marketer in your past life, or you like blending consumer psychology with behavioral change tactics. So next is the workflow product manager. You also the alias that people use is sometimes it's called SaaS product manager, and the responsibilities of this on a very broad level is about building editing tools, dashboards, tracking tools. So if I talk about the superpower that you need to have or that really goes well for this role is someone who's detective at heart. They can study consumers process and workflow and find the opportunities, unique opportunities for improving it. They like optimizing each and every interaction. The next is the community product manager. Sometimes it's called the social product manager. And the responsibility generally includes building the contributor side of the marketplace, driving social interactions in a gaming app, or collaboration for enterprise SaaS. And if I talk about the superpower, it's someone who understands the psychology behind users sharing and connect with others. They love testing ways to drive engagement and deepen connections. The next is the platform product manager, also sometimes called API product manager. The job functions involve managing the development of external APIs and developer platforms. And if I talk about the superpower, they're amazing at building services that others want to use. Typically, they are more technical roles, and they require some sort of understanding how to build APIs or services. The fifth is the data or AI product manager. Sometimes in the past, this role was commonly called a search PM. And if you look over the job function, it generally says you need to improve the search success rates or time to conversion. And finally, if I talk about the superpower, the superpower that you will need to have is you are an expert translator between the user needs and problems. And you have a high inclination towards data, that you like building algorithms, you dream about AI ML models that can lead to automation. And finally, it's mobile product manager. Sometimes it's called native or apps product manager. And if you look over the job function, it's basically that you need to lead a iOS or Android native app team. And the superpower that you need to have to be a mobile product manager is that you have a passion for design, UX. You are an expert in unique mobile use cases, and you have a basic know-how of how App Store processes work. So now that you're determined which type of role you best fit in or understand the job requirement, so let's understand a bit more about the tech industry trends. So I want to begin this topic by defining a tech company. So you are a tech company if you are in the business of selling technology. We define a lot of technology companies by the product or services they sell. But by this definition, companies such as Airbnb and Uber would not qualify. So maybe this definition is too narrow. So that's why for today's discussion, let's just broaden this up by saying a tech company harnesses technology to create a competitive advantage. So even if you don't even sell technology directly, but if the contribution to technology to your business or your customers becomes an integral part of your operations, then you are a tech company that also happens to be an X industry. So now, as you most of you might know, the technology industry is by far the fastest growing in the world's economy. Research, new developments, innovation are taking place every day. And it's not just the fastest, the technology sector is also the highest spending in 2019. Spending literally reached over $8 trillion. So this means this industry is actually spending more than the whole country's GDP in 1 year. That's so huge. So, but with the tech industry being so diverse, so large, have you ever wondered which sectors are the most successful? And if you look over this diagram, you will see, which is based on the CB Insights report 2019, on-demand, e-commerce, and fintech constitute nearly 60% of the overall valuation in the industry. So, for the sake of this presentation, let's talk about them. Let's talk about what, as a PM, you need to know, or like when you're building a new product, or maybe you're just interviewing for them, some of the ideas that you can bring to the table. So, the first is the on demand. So, the on demand sector essentially involves economic activities are centered around online platforms where independent sellers are able to offer services and goods to customers. So whether you are looking to build a cab, to book a cab for your journey, or you want to instantly book an appointment for your salon, all you need to do, go through your mobile screens, open an app, and hire the same. Some prominent names, as you can see, include DoorDash, Uber, Instacart, and so on. So what are the trends and product considerations as a PM that you need to think of? So I'll start by saying the background checks. with so many legal issues that you might have seen in the recent years going on with Uber, for example, we see an increased need for background checks. So, good example is on-demand work app called Hello Sitter, which is a platform where parents, with a convenient way, find a babysitter. So, as you might think, customers would be very hesitant to use this service if there were no background checks performed. Second is the high skill positions. So if you think of services like Uber and Airbnb, which are kind of the most popular in this segment, but now as you see, there are more industries getting into the loop. For example, the healthcare, medicine, and as you can understand, of course, users who are using these apps in this field, they would look for highly skilled employees, and they would want to check if the services are like the people are genuinely qualified to do that. The third is a convenience. So people prefer services that locate them easily, such as food delivery apps, to select and order immediately. The fourth is the availability of services. Consumers prefer to get the services within their reach, such as the grocery marketplace that could be easily accessed, and could offer multiple items at a go. The fifth one is the time punctuality. So basically, a quick and quality services is definitely one of the most important factors to win the trust of people. And the final one is the cost efficiency, making sure that the services and products meet the affordability of the common people and becoming more popular. Now, moving on, the next segment is the fintech. So broadly, the term financial technology can apply to any innovation in how people transact business, from invention to digital money to double entry bookkeeping. So fintech now describes a variety of financial activities such as money transfers, depositing a check with your smartphone, bypassing a bank branch to apply for credit, or managing your investments, and generally without the assistance of a person. And despite being a relatively young industry in terms of time, modern fintech is an independent field with its own trends and regulations. And as you can see, some of the prominent names include PayPal, Square, Venmo, Robinhood, and so on. So, again, what are the product considerations as a PM that you need to think of in this segment? Would be first is you know your customers. Again, this is the probably required for every industry, but specifically for this industry, to succeed in fintech, you need to have a laser focus on the particular subset of customers that you're targeting. So the segmentation could be in terms of credit score, where you can uniquely target prime or subprime consumers to easily test A/B test products and marketing. The second, under this know your customer segment, would be the income attributes. So the key idea here is that not all consumers have the same financial pain points. So maybe if your product is inclined towards one particular specific group, you might want to think about, do they really want something? Is it what the user really wants? The third, under this know your customer segment, could be age. So you should be aware of the fact that two-thirds of the smartphone users over the age of 50 are still reluctant to use the devices for financial tasks. So maybe if you are targeting those people, so how can you make it more easier to understand? And in comparison, if your target is more towards millennials or Gen Zs, they actually grew up on all the fintech products. So you might need to think how you position your product. The second thing is the regulations. Again, when you think of regulations, you have to consider that there might be something which hasn't been implemented yet by the government or hasn't been imposed by the government. But you need to consider and build mechanism for future needs. The next is the risk management. Uh, as a fintech product manager, you need to be more proactive than reactive. You need to avoid loopholes, maybe by incorporating advanced algorithms to assess risk profiles or credit profiles. Or you might want to implement intelligent technologies like AI, ML, which can help you be more proactive in understanding if there's a high risk potential or high risk customer. The next is the contactless payments. So during this year, everyone must have seen with the COVID pandemic, there's a need for robust contactless solutions. Social distancing measures have conditioned many people to limit face-to-face interactions, and even after this pandemic, this is going to stay here. The next is the blockchain. Uh, the move towards blockchain use in financial institutions have been slow, but it is still very important fintech trends. So organizations will turn to blockchain to decrease frauds and manage both regulatory and audit concerns. And the final is the consumer perceptions. For one, again, due to COVID, many people have been experiencing considering considerable financial upheaval right now. So, how can you help a consumer's budget, or is there a way to offer relief or aid or delay in payments? Is it possible if the segmentation that you're targeting, is there anything that you can do for them based on the perceptions? So, my final sector that I want to focus on is the e-commerce. Uh, E-commerce, also known as electronic commerce, refers to buying and selling of goods and services using the internet and transfer of money and data to execute these transactions. Um, as a e-commerce product manager, you could be responsible for entire systems such as mobile app, or maybe just a part of systems such as the checkout flow. And some of the key companies in this sector is definitely eBay, and then Amazon, Alibaba, Rakuten, JD.com, and so on. So, and finally, what are the product considerations if you are the e-commerce product manager that you need to think of? Is the first is the cohesive ecosystem. So, if you think about all the e-commerce companies, they tend to build a broad platform which spans across multiple industries. So, which means that you need to provide access to financial resources. For example, in-app financing options. Um, Take an example. If you sell high-price item on your platform, for example, jewelry, furniture, meaning there's a good chance your item fall just out of reach for some audience if the payment is expected in full and upfront. So maybe you want to research if you can like apply PayPal credit, or if you can offer PayPal credit, Snap, Affirm, Klarna, these type of companies. You might also want to think about the contextual commerce. A lot of people, consumers, like to buy as they go. So is there a probably you can offer multiple checkout points or easy checkout points in different platforms, including social media. The next is a default to international markets. International markets are growing at a crazy pace, with projections that cross-border purchases will account for fifth of the worldwide e-commerce. So there is a need. If you are looking for international markets, maybe you need to provide multi-currency, language support, or the way to charge taxes in different countries. The next is the voice and image search. With Amazon Alexa, with Siri, and all these companies which are coming up with the voice. So making a purchase is easy when a customer has to do is speak to an app. Now that the technology is beginning to match consumer expectations, more people will expect e-commerce applications to utilize it. And at the same time, if I talk about image search, as the name implies, e-commerce solution allows customers to search for product by images, which can be helpful if you aren't sure exactly how to describe what you're looking for in words. So as a PM, does it make sense to provide such kind of research, search option on your platform? The fourth is the prioritizing accessibility. So there is a recent Supreme Court landmark discussion that determined that any company with a physical location must make their website or online platforms accessible under the Americans with Disabilities Act. So it is not just something that is a pro. It's not just that it's something uh, that additional thing that you can do, but you are required to do this now. So maybe you have to take this into consideration when you think of building different platforms. The fifth is the consumer conversations. um, the path of conversion is not always about clicks, but actually about conversation. So, can you provide conversational marketing? Like what real time connection you can provide to the consumers, maybe from the chatbots or some chatbot AI that you can provide. The final is the personalization. Consumers are far more likely to engage with brands that offer personalized experiences, and personally is the key to build loyalty and to reduce churn. So that being said, so these are the three top industries, and as you might see, there might be a lot of overlap between one company that, for example, eBay, for example, it is an e-commerce as well as fintech. So when you are interviewing for any role, you might have to think about how do like what are the different trends that you need to be looking for. So hopefully, with that being said, I hope this was helpful for you to understand, uh, to determine your product fit as well as what industry trends that you need to be aware of before the interviews. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And yeah, thank you so much.